He is honorary doctorate holder in governance of GST and governments in government sector. He has served 9 consecutive years as SIRC Council member of ICAI. He's also the author of 2 books. The first is Standard Costing Variance Analysis for Professional Students, and the second is First Lessons in Information Technology for CA students. He's also a seasoned speaker on IT, finance and taxation, etc. And today we are delighted to have him with us on this platform for the topic caveats, limitations, and disclaimer. On to you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Very good afternoon, friends. At the outset, let me thank All India Institute of Valuers Foundation for this wonderful opportunity. I must say, one of the very unique opportunity to share my thoughts on a contemporary topic. This is one area which was not advised by a regulator, but it was considered as a best practice. Now, let me reiterate that point. Rather than advised by the regulator, it was considered as a best practice. Now, this is part of a guidance, or I will even use the word called a guideline. Generally, guidelines may not be issued by a regulator. That is why you have a tier 2 regulator. Those are RVOs. RVOs only have to bring out guidelines, because that is for professional development and for the purpose of I will make this point a little more clear by saying that IBBI taking one step forward by bringing out a guideline. It is an indication that RVOs have to take the Aage. Okay, so the first kadam, we call it as ek kadam. Okay, so the maiden attempt was made by the regulator. The second attempt now it has to be done by the RVOs. So it is like a hand-holding exercise. All through these days, when I say all through these days, up to 1st of September 2020, this is the 1st of September 2020. So exactly 11 months back. So this was a guideline. So what was a best practice has now been converted to a guideline. Now from where you will get the best practice? Number one, valuation standards. So number one, valuation standards. Number two, where will get the best? If it is available in the statute. So statute books are in the form of rule book, either in the form of the act or in the form of rules. Remember, till 1st September 2020, we were following as a best practice because of the prescription in valuation standards and also the prescription in the rule book. So I will take you through and look at this. These guidelines will be called as IBBI Use of Caveats, Limitation, Disclosures Guidelines 2020. Okay. So this is an IBBI guideline. And when this is a guideline, I repeat, this becomes part of law. And these guidelines may be called IBBI Use of Caveat, Limitation, Disclaimers and Valuation Report. Should I have to follow? Guideline means, is it only a guidance or is it mandatory? Wait. These guidelines shall come into force in respect of valuation report completed by RVs on or after 1st October. So 1st September, this came, and 1st October onwards, these guidelines are applicable. Okay. So now all the valuation reports issued after 1st October 2020, this is applicable. So before I start into my presentation, we have with us innumerable participants from Achaya, Amandeep Kar, Anil Kumar Gupta, till Vishal Sharma, Jagan Mohan, Umanath Pandey. I'll just request one among you to just unmute yourself. Can I request Sanjay Lahiri? Sanjay Lahiri, can you unmute? Or anybody who wish to raise hands? I don't know what happened to Sanjay Lahiri. Or can I request Mr. Natraja Kundapura?
Yes, sir.
Oh, very good evening, Mr. Natraja Kundapura.
Very good evening, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm doing extremely well. So nice of you. Thank you very much. So can you share with us, have you gone through this 1st September 2020 guideline?
Yes, sir. I gone through that, but I didn't done any valuation under the IBBI, sir.
Okay, okay. So this is point number one. Point number two, was this guideline, do you feel very restrictive, or was it any comfort you felt with respect to this guideline?
It seems to be okay, sir. But see, if you do any that misconduct, then it's a hard and fast rule, sir.
Okay, okay. So very good, very good. So thank you very much, Mr. Natraja. So from where are you?
Thank you, sir.
Where are you speaking, Ji?
Sorry, sir.
From where are you speaking?
Yeah, it's in Kundapura, sir, Karnataka state.
Yeah. So that's the most, that place is very breezy, and all three sides beaches there.
Yes, sir. It is very, very near to Mukambika temple.
Mukambika. Yeah, I know that. That is a place where all three sides you have seas. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
That's an amazing place. We love to be part of Kundapur. We'll be missing. Maybe next time I will call on you whenever I'm there. Thank you very much, Mr. Natraja.
Yes, sir. Please do it. Please do it. Please, sir.
So now.
Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah, thank you. So now I wish to take you to.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Two things. I want to refer to the various standards. Especially, I want to refer to International Valuation Standards 103, section, actually it is called as section 30, para 30.1. And here they say the report must convey the following at a minimum. And how many points are there? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So IBS says 8 points. Okay. Second, this is ICA RVO valuation standard. So what I will do, I will take international valuation standards. Good. So IVS 103. So here para section number 30, 30.1. So this is the content I refer to. I'll also refer to ICA valuation standards. Now here in ICA valuation standards, I'll take you to 202. This is 202 valuation, 202 reporting and documentation. Okay. So here, if you look at para number 11, 202 this is 202 para number 11. Evaluer at a minimum include the following in valuation report at a minimum. So both the standards, whether it is IBS 103 or ICA RVO valuation standard 202, especially para 11, both says minimum only. And what are all the minimum content? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 points. Good. So 13 points are minimum. Now out of this 13 points, D and H are if any. Please look at that. All these are if any is not there. D and J are if any. So out of 13, 11 mandatory, 2 if any. Not necessary that you have to include it unless and otherwise data are there. For example, only if there is a valuer's conflict of interest is there, I will disclose. Otherwise, I will only give 11 para. So 8 paras. Here, none of these 8 have if any. So that means 8 minimum you have to give. In para 11, even though 13 paras are there, the other 2 are if any. So therefore, the total minimum paras what has to be given is 11. Okay. So 11 paras has to be given. Now I'll take you to rule 8.3. Now why I'm mentioning this, please look at the section 30. Here, scope, purpose, approach, method, input, assumption, conclusion date. That's all. Nothing. But your standard in certain other places, they say you can give, you cannot give disclaimer. The standard actually says you cannot give disclaimer at all. International valuation standard. At the beginning itself, they say. Okay. That is in framework itself, they say, can you give disclaimer? So I'll just share with you the particular para. This is your international valuation standards. In the framework, this is your framework. Here, in the framework, they discuss about departures. So only when there are departures, you can mention that. Otherwise, you have to say it is. So there is no concept called disclaimer, which is discussed in international valuation standard. And please come here. Disclosure of valuer's interest on conflict. So nowhere they have discussed about valuer's conflict of interest. Restriction on use of the valuation report also they have not discussed. But there are other points. So 8 and 13, 8 mandatory here, 11 mandatory here. That means 3 additional points are there. Here I want to bring to your kind attention caveat, limitation and disclaimer. Okay. So that is what our caveat, limitation and disclaimer. Okay. So the starting point of this is your ICA RVO valuation standard. Okay. And also because your valuation, a minute. I'll also take the rules parallel. So the fourth one. This is the fourth one. This is the fourth, sorry. Up to. Here, I am taking you to rule number 8. Look at rule number 8. 3. This came when, if you are surprised, okay, so this particular standard was issued on 18th October 2017. Okay. 18th October 2017 and amended on 13th of November 2018. Wow. But please look at, so I'll take you to rule number 8.3. Okay. 8.3. The valuer shall in his report say, that means mandatory. That is mandate. Now look at this. Shall in his report state A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. So 12 points. So rules says rule 8.3. It says 12 points. Now out of this 12, if you look at this, there are 2, if any, restriction on use of report and disclosure. So that means 10 and 2. So your ICA RVO valuation standards contents are more. Okay, till 1st September 2020, the guideline came. Okay, this guideline is forming part of IBBA guideline. Okay, remember, can IBBA issue a guideline? First of all, okay, so Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India, use of caveats, limitation and disclaimer in valuation reports guidelines. I want to bring to your kind attention 8 minutes. Act. Okay. So this is our code. So now I want to bring to your kind attention the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. Okay, I'll take you to section number so this is the section I want to bring. Power to make rules. Okay. Central government, this is rules. Now, power to make regulation. The board, by notification, make regulations consistent with the code and the rules thereunder to carry out the provisions of this code. Okay. In particular and without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing power, such regulation may provide for any or for all or any of the following matters. Okay. Now here, if you look at this, okay, is there anything with respect to valuation? All are only with respect to, okay, the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code related matters only. Okay. So anybody can actually question the validity of this guideline. So that is why they have not brought this as a regulation. They have not brought this as a rule. Rule only central government can bring. IBBA, they are only giving this as a guideline. And why they are mandating it? They are mandating it. Okay, now please look at this. This is with respect to rule 8, which I just now mentioned. Okay. Rule 8 of the rules shall state caveats, limitation, and disclaimer. Now, I am taking you to rule number 8. Here it says L, caveat, limitation, disclaimer. To the extent they explain or elucidate the limitation faced by the valuer, which shall not be the purpose of limiting is responsible to the valuation report. This is where the starting point is. Okay. So, IBBA has not got any powers under the section which I just now mentioned. Okay. This is only with respect to regulation. 240. They don't have power under 240. Okay. Because 240 is only with respect to regulation. Please understand. Second, with respect to guideline, look at this rule 8.3. In the last day, there is a word called caveat, limitation, and disclaimer to the extent. Now, to help understand by the valuation fraternity, they have brought out a guideline. And this guideline is a voluntary guideline. Okay, only to support, help, and handhold the activities of the valuation professionals. In the process, they have also made it mandatory. That is where you need to understand. There are many people who can actually question IBBI, can you actually bring this particular guideline? Okay, so that is all different thing. That is why we need to understand one thing. As of today, IBBI, the name says, okay, name is actually, it says, what is that? Mahatma Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi. But they are not only ruling Congress, they are also ruling the BJP, for your information. So can Gandhis can rule BJP? It is not possible. But as of today, we need a separate an entity. So till that time, IBBA wants to bring out certain aspects, and rather than bringing out as a regulation, because they don't have powers to bring as a regulation, they are giving it as a guideline. So please note it down. But at the same time, the valuation reports will be subject to peer review. Why this came, please understand. You may think that, okay, I will not follow it. Why should I follow all this stuff and all later? But they are in the process of bringing peer review, for your information. Okay. Already they had talks with all the RVOs. So when they have to bring peer review mechanism, the valuation report should be in sync. There should be some standardization with respect to, they cannot bring a format for valuation report. It is very difficult. Valuation report, you think and then you bring it out. So it is a storytelling activity. So it is like writing a book. So therefore, you cannot say these should be the format like an audit report. So that is why they are giving only the content. Okay. Umanath Pandey is putting one question. I will request you to unmute and then ask question later. Anyhow, I'll give you the time by 6:45. You can ask question at that point of time. Okay. Now, caveat, limitations, and disclaimer. To the extent they explain or elucidate the limitations faced by valuer, which shall not be the powers of limiting his responsibility for the valuation. So this is one point I want to actually expand here. Okay. Now please go to now the third para. Okay. Now this one particular para I am going to expand. Okay. Now since Umanath Pandey has already asked one question, we will request Umanath Pandey to unmute. Umanath Pandey, I have unmuted you. Can you just share your thoughts, please?
Good evening, sir.
Very, very good evening.
Am I audible?
Absolutely clear and loud.
So
Absolutely.
what I was trying to say, since the power has been delegated, power of Companies Act Section 247 has been delegated to the IBBI, and by virtue of getting that power, they can frame all the rules relating to valuation.
No. With respect to 247,
Yeah.
they only say that any assets and liabilities, if it has to be valued, it has to be valued only by registered valuer. That's all.
Yes.
There
Yes.
is no mention about IBBA there.
No. By way of gadget notification, this implementing authority for enforcing all this valuation has been delegated to the IBBI till the new agency is appointed.
Exactly. But not with respect to giving any guidelines. The word guideline, nowhere it is there.
Now, what I'm to say, they are getting power from that notification.
No. That is only with respect to implementation. That is why they are regulators. Now, why should then be a 14 or 16 RVOs now?
Because if you are looking for this IBC Act, there is no power to the IBBI as far as the valuation is concerned.
Absolutely, I agree that particular point.
Yeah.
That is why they are like a present stepmother.
Yes.
They are like a present stepmother. So that is why to bring, to actually regulate the various I want to make that particular point that the standardization in presentation of valuation report. Standardization, presentation of valuation report. Somewhere something should be codified. Even though you have the valuation standards, ICA RVO valuation standards, and already Rule 8 very clearly says you have to follow valuation standard or internationally recognized valuation standard. It's already there. So that is why I started with that. In addition to that, they have brought this guideline. That is why they don't want to say it is a rule or a regulation, but silently they have inserted within the guideline that a valuer has to follow, so mandatorily has to follow. So that is where it is interesting.
Because they are referring to the valuation rules and they are getting that power from the Companies Act. Since there is no implementing authority as of now.
There is no power given to the IBBI. It is only with respect to regulating the profession of valuation.
Okay, okay.
So therefore, there is, you just think about IBBI without these 4,000 valuers. It is only Booth Bangla. So the real life is these 4,000 valuers. So nice, so nice. Thank you very much, Umanaji. Thank you very much. So now, I'm now taking you to this para number 3, where they have actually the need for caveats, limitation, and disclaimer. Okay. So here, many things they have discussed. I'll come to this. Here, what they say that the limitations given, the disclaimer given, and the caveat given, especially, I want to bring to your kind attention the international valuation standards departure. I'll just share with you one paragraph here. Please look at this paragraph. Here, what do you mean by a departure? I'll then go there. Okay. A departure is a circumstance where specific legislative, regulatory, or authoritative requirement must be followed that differ from some of the requirement within IBS. So, if you want to depart from, I repeat, you want to depart from the standard because you want to comply with respect to a respective authoritative guideline or authoritative requirement. So here the authoritative requirement, an example can be a guideline.
Yes.
Okay. So a departure is a circumstance where, so now this is where you need to understand how the ball is caught. They say in rule, I will kick the ball one side. That one side is you have to follow standards. Now in standard they say, if you are saying that you are following standards, you cannot say I have followed only part of the standard, other part I have not followed. So you cannot say that. That is what these paras say. Departure, deviation from IBS that are not result of legislative, regulatory, or authoritative requirement are not permitted in valuation performed in accordance with IBS. So what is the meaning of this? Departure, deviation from IBS that are not the result of legislative, regulator, and other authoritative requirements. So what you can say, no, I am not following the standards. If you are not following standards, in your report you say, I have not followed standard only for the purpose of the regulatory requirement. So here, so therefore regulatory requirement is only one now. If you are not following standard, that is your rule 8.3. That rule 8.3 is your 10 plus 2. So you are 12 points here. But I want to mention one thing here. This para number 3, sorry. This is para number 3, contents of valuation. Here they say, considering the interest of stakeholders and the need for transparency and principles of good governance, the undernoted matters should compulsorily be covered. The undernoted matters should compulsorily be covered in the valuation report in a clear, unambiguous, non-misleading manner, consistent with the need to maintain confidentiality. So they have made this point very clear. should compulsorily be covered in the valuation. Now, how many points they have mentioned here? If you look at this, A to Q. So they have now covered 16 points. So IVS has covered only 8. ICA RVO has covered 13, 11 mandatory, 2 optional. Rule 8312, 10 mandatory, 2 optional. And your guideline. Okay, so this is your guideline. Your guideline has covered 16. So these are the 5. And majority of this I can reconcile with the ICA RVO valuation standards 202. Because out of all these 8, 13 and 12, the maximum number of points are covered only in ICA RVO valuation standards. So I'll directly reconcile with ICA RVO valuation standards. There they have given 13, but here it is 16. In 16, 3 are if any. So disclosure of register values, conflict of interest, it is already there. Disclosure of values, interest or conflict, if any. So this is already there. And significant assumptions, if any. Restrictions on use of report, if any. So these are the 3. And major factors, conclusion, caveat, limitation, and disclaimer. Okay. So these are the mandatory thing you have to give. Now, this is already there for your information. For your information, background information, purpose is already there. Please look at this. Background information, purpose is already there in rule, as well as an ICA RVO is there. Now, what is not there? Okay. While reconciling, what is not there is base and premise was not there. Very, very important. All other things I am not going to discuss because all are already there. Identity of the RV, it is already there. Identity of the valuer C, here also C. And intended users of valuation, that is also there. Disclosure, data appointment, inspection, investigation, then business interest, ownership, character, nature and source of information, significant assumptions. Now, this is one point I want to bring to your kind attention. Now, please look at this paragraph here. So, purpose, identity, disclosure, data appointment, inspection, investigation, nature and source of information, procedures adopted, valuation standard, valuation methodology, restriction, major factors, conclusion. Now, this point, significant assumptions. So, basis of value is one point. 2, premises. So, premise of value. Okay, always I used to mention this. First is purpose. Second is base. Third is premise. Fourth is actually your different valuation approaches, then methods. These are your 5 steps actually. And so far, this particular aspect has not been covered at all for your information. The basis and value has not been covered. But in neither in rule 8.3. Okay, but one thing is covered, which I want to mention to all of you. In IVS, approaches and methods are given, which is actually a purpose, because purpose is also here. Intended uses purpose. Here also purpose is there. Purpose is there. Purpose and approaches and methods. So here, please look at this. Valuation methodology. So in ICA RVO, method is given. Approach is not given. Now, here rule 8.3, that particular point is not there because that is one place where there is a difference. This yellow color valuation method is that point, that the reconciliation between ICA RVO evaluation standards 202 and rule 8.3. Rule 8.3 and your ICA valuation standards both are same, except one point, that is your valuation method. So they only say which method you are following, you have to disclose. But method is the 5th step. But you have to say purpose. That means purpose is there in first step. First step and 5th step you have to say, but in between 3 steps are there, that is left out. Out of these 3 steps, your international valuation standards are both approach and method you have to give separately. What is the approach adopted? Method applied. Very good. Okay. So now what are the in between 2 steps? bases and premises. You have a separate standard for it. For your information, guys, you have a separate standard. See, international. So you have a separate standard here for basis. 104. The basis and the premise is also discussed here. Look at this. Premises are also discussed. So the base and premise, you have a separate standard, not only with respect to international valuation standard, but also with respect to ICA. So this is our ICA valuation standard. So there also you have a separate standard for base and premise. So please look at this. Valuation basis, you have a separate standard. So which was actually missed out? I will say both in international valuation standard 103, ICRVO 202 and rule. But we cannot just like that ignore the fact that IVS has missed out basis and ICRVO has missed out basis because they have given a separate standard for it. Only thing is in the valuation report content, they only say the word minimum. So therefore you can include it additionally. Now they have made it mandatory. Base is mandatory. That means liquidation value is a base. Fair value is a base. Fair market value is a base. Market value is a base. Okay. Synergy value is a base. You have to give the base and you have to explain why that base is chosen. Okay, so that is one. Two is premise. Third, significant assumptions. And last is only caveat, limitation and disclaimer. And they give only one point with respect to disclaimer. That is the only one important point I want to discuss. Significant assumptions, nowhere they have discussed, but only I will take you to the international valuation standards. Okay, assumptions and special assumptions, 200. So they use the word called special assumptions. Okay, so this is 200. Assumptions and special assumptions. Significant assumptions. So assumptions and special assumptions, both will come here. Now, what is the difference? Significant assumption is as is where is condition, you do the projection. Significant assumption, say a bachelor is doing his valuation. He is not married. So then what will be his salary? What will be his future salary, increment, that base, LOTO, LOSCO, everything, discounted, present value. Now I want to enhance my value. My present value is only 1.5 crores. Yeah, I have 1.5 crores. How will I enhance my value? 3 months later, I will marry. If I marry, she will have a salary of this much. And her salary will grow at a growth rate of this. So, joint salary minus expenditure, net salary, present value, discount. My present value will be 5 crores now. From 1.5 crore, it become 5 crores. How? Is it assumption? No. Special assumption. Why? Because as on the data valuation, you are not married. You are doing the valuation with the special assumption that you will get married and that salary also you will get it. We don't know. That salary may go somewhere also. I don't know. But you are having a special assumption. Okay. That is very important. He said you have to mention that. This is not there in the international valuation standard, but they say it is minimum. But here, what is the wordings that is given? Okay. It should compulsorily be covered. There is no word called minimum. Okay. So standard prescribes minimum. Here the guideline says 16 points. And out of this, these 3 are only if any. A significant assumption sometimes may not be there. So that is why you can. I am a restriction. Now disclaimer, I want to bring only one point and after that I leave the floor open for questions. Okay. Only one. First question, can I give disclaimer? No, this amount, I don't want to take responsibility. Is it, then what is the value? Valuation is, you see future and you give an answer. Can you disclaim that value? Okay, so that's the question. So I just want to share with you only one paragraph. That is that paragraph you need to be very clear with. Okay. So this is that thing. So many are actually all of you know about it, but only one point I want to bring to your kind attention. Okay, that too with respect to disclaimer. Okay. Yes. So that point is because this is covered for all the 3 asset classes. Okay. So this is the paragraph I want all of you to look at. Okay. Yes. Now here I want to bring your kind attention. Can you take no responsibility of the valuation? Okay. There's a question. Actually, you are not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to. But certain aspects you can give disclaimer. What is that? So I wish to bring to your kind attention this para. While our workers involve analysis of financial statement, accounting records, or engagement does not include an audit because you are not doing audit. Accordingly, we assume no responsibility with respect to accuracy or completeness of any information provided by and on behalf of you and the client. This is the disclaimer. So, because who has given the data? Data is given by management. So that is why you say management has provided this information. So is that information authentic? So you can take audited information. You can also take unaudited information. Sometimes the projection also will be calculated and given by the management. You have to do corroboration. You are not doing audit of that information. What is called corroboration? Corroboration means whether the calculation is arithmetically correct. The basis on which the particular calculation or projections were made. For example, there is a growth rate taken at the rate of 10%. The past growth rate is only 4.5%, but they are taking 10% growth rate. So is it corroborating with the past? Okay, leave past. That is only a new company startup. They have put directly 10% growth rate. That 10% growth rate, does it actually fit with the industry? This is called corroboration. Only corroboration you can do. Beyond that, so far, that is why you have 3 types of valuation report. One is called calculation valuation report, where you don't corroborate. Then what you call it as complete valuation report, where you corroborate all the data, but you don't audit. You don't audit. And in the corroboration, if you are not comfortable or convinced with the 10%, you can reduce it. So that is the place where you are going to give. So the sources of the data, what they have given, I will take the source as such. So generally, if it's audited information, you take audit. Then unaudited information, you take it as such. You are not going to audit that info. That is why this is very important. So whenever that information is given, projections are given, that calculation, generally in a valuation report, the summary calculation is given, the summary sheet. So, and maybe the ultimate calculation table, maybe you can put, or that the summary you can put it. Much detailed information will be there. So that will be done on a worksheet. Worksheet need not be attached. Okay. Worksheet need not be attached. That is forming part of your documentation. That is forming part of your documentation. So our report is subject to scope and limitation detail here and there. As if the report is to be read in totality and not in parts. In conjunction with the relevant documents and with respect to context, with respect to significant observation, only the valuation will fit into it. So even you try to change any of the variable, my valuation will differ. That is what you have to do. Rather, so that means on whatever the data what you have calculated, you cannot disclaim. The data what is provided to you, to the extent that has been provided to you, you have not done the audit of it, but you have done the corroboration with respect to that. So when if it is a complete valuation report, okay, complete valuation report, you have to say that these data are corroborated with respect to the projections that has been made. So that is very, very interesting for your information. So I'll just leave the floor open now for queries. Okay, so maybe if we have any questions, I wish to take and then answer those questions. Rahul Jindal, can I request Rahul ji to ask any questions? So how about Amandeep Kar? Munish Agarwala. Mr. V. Jagan Mohan. Vishal Sharma. Okay. Oh, Mr. Ramesh.
Yes, my name is Ramesh. Is there any other Ramesh in the list or me only? You're addressing me.
You are the only Ramesh.
Oh, I see. My name is Ramesh Kumar P. I am a plantain missionary valuer. Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah. See, it's you have explained nicely, but I have gone through this document some months ago when it was introduced. I don't recollect fully now, but what it says, what it indirectly says, it gives a format for the valuation report, what all it must contain essentially. So if anybody is following the older practices, they can now reform themselves to this a new kind of format, taking clues from this document, these guidelines. So that is what is my understanding. So all the reports I have taken this essentiality of this formatting, and I've been doing that. That's
Very
it.
good. Very good. So nice, so nice. Thank you very much, Ramesh bhai.
Yeah, thank you.
So maybe we'll request Umanath Pandey maybe to give a concluding remarks. Okay. So guys, then thank you very much. Thank you very much for the wonderful program. I'll hand over the session back to Mehak.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to you for a great session once again. And as we wind up today's session, I'd like to keep this quote by Nelson Mandela. He said, "Education is the most powerful weapon one can use to change the world." So let us try to gain more and more knowledge to make our weapons stronger with every passing day. Thank you, sir. Thanks to the audience today.